Alright, so before we begin, if you haven't watched my latest short film Technical Difficulties yet, please go check that out first. Seriously, this will all make a lot more sense after that. Alright, so you want the secret sauce, huh? You're one of those how-it's-made junkies looking for your next fix. Well, don't worry, I got you. Today, I'm breaking down how I self-produced Technical Difficulties, or more accurately, how I finally stopped making excuses and started making something again. I hit a point where I realized I'd gone way too long without creating. Life happened, work happened, routine happened, and somewhere in there I just stopped actually making stuff. Not because I didn't want to, but because I convinced myself I needed more first. More gear, more people, more money, more resources. You know, the usual lies we tell ourselves. And that mindset kept me stuck. So eventually I hit a bit of a creative crisis. I realized that if I wanted to start making something, it was going to have to be up to me, which was both terrifying and weirdly free. Around that time, I found myself really inspired by creators like D4 Darius, Dylan Clark, Standard Story Company, and of course, the legend himself, Pony Smasher, aka David F. Sandberg. These were creators actively proving that you didn't need massive budgets or giant crews to tell compelling stories. You just need creativity, problem solving, and the willingness to start. That shifted everything for me. So instead of focusing on what I didn't have, I focused on what I did. One actor, one location, one camera. I spent about a week brainstorming ideas that fit those limitations while still being something people might actually want to watch. My goal was simple: make something relatable but cinematic. And since I'd recently been working from home, dealing with morning meetings, presentations, and the general chaos of customer service, I already had the perfect anxiety fuel. That fear of, what if everything completely falls apart right before an important meeting? Yeah, that felt universal enough. So I took that, dialed it up, and Technical Difficulties was born. The script took me about 3 days to write, with some incredibly helpful feedback from my mentor and co-star, Jeff Waddleton. Then came what I genuinely think was one of the most important parts of this whole project: storyboarding. Seriously, do not sleep on storyboards. When you're filming yourself, having rough visuals to reference is a lifesaver. They don't need to be pretty, they just need to exist. Once I had that locked in, it was time to prep the set. Testing shots, dialing lighting, and naturally, making mistakes. Fun fact, monitors do not love having lights clamped to them.
Oh God, no.
So, let me save you a few $100 and recommend that you use a light stand instead. I used natural window light as my key, my GVM lights for my fill, and an Aperture MC Pro for my edge light. It was a simple setup, but at first, I wasn't really in love with what I was seeing. And I definitely had a moment where I thought, oh no, this sucks. But instead of giving up, I problem solved. I realized that what I was missing was motivated light and contrast. So, I added a practical lamp into the scene, used negative fill, and created more of a shaped lighting setup. Then, suddenly, there it was. It actually felt like a proper film. That was one of the biggest lessons from this whole process. Cinematic is way more about intention than just expensive gear. For the actual shoot, I filmed everything in one day on my Blackmagic Pocket 6K, shooting in 6K at B-RAW 5:1. For audio, I kept it pretty straightforward. I mic'd myself up using a Sennheiser wireless G4 lav using some gaff tape. I then plugged that into my Zoom H4n field recorder, and for my boom, I used my Sennheiser MKE 600. As an additional challenge for this project, because apparently I enjoy making life harder for myself, I also decided to do my own sound design. So I recorded Foley around the house using that same H4n and MKE 600 combo, and designed the OS sounds using GarageBand. And honestly, that was one of my favorite parts. Getting to combine my passion for filmmaking and love for music and sound design was a total blast. For the voice of the operating system, my girlfriend Ivy absolutely crushed it.
Shane, I need you to listen carefully.
Originally, the system wasn't even supposed to have a human voice based on the script I wrote. However, while reviewing the rough cuts and kind of putting it together, having the operating system simply responding strictly through just notifications felt too sterile, and honestly, it was kind of boring.
no, that's not possible.
So, by giving the operating system a personality, it just made everything so much better. The same thing went for Jeff, lending his vocal talents as Mr. Weber.
Shane, we'll begin with you in a moment.
It's subtle, but this extra voice really helped make the world feel bigger than just one person sitting in their office, losing their mind. It was a great lesson in world building, for sure. Then came the most painful, but weirdly rewarding part, designing and animating the operating system. I built everything in Illustrator, animated it in After Effects, and taught myself VFX basically as I went, learning screen replacing, motion tracking, Mocha AE, all that stuff. And all of it couldn't have been possible without attending one of my favorite institutions, YouTube University. So, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Did I learn a ton? Absolutely. And honestly, that was kind of the point. This project was never about perfection. It was about proving to myself that I could still do this, that I didn't need to wait for better gear, or more money, or a bigger team to make something worthwhile. There was a lot of trial and most certainly a lot of error. But in the end, I made something. And that mattered more than making excuses. Thank you for watching, and I'm so excited to share with you what I have coming next.